Hey YouTubers! Okay, that's MJ. always get me, man. Always get me. Anyway, guys, we are here to talk today about something I've been thinking about for a while. I did kind of a video on this, but I wanted to kind of have a more generalized discussion about, this particular topic, and also kind of bring this as basically a new series. One of the things we know about Dragon Ball Super is, and this is just something you have to kind of accept it. It's basically a sitcom with fights, and and while that's really cool, I mean, look at all the awesome things we've gotten. Some of the best fights I think in all of Dragon Ball history have been in this particular series. I mean, we got complete and utter epicness, and I just thought, wouldn't it be cool if we did a series where we talk about basically fights that could happen, in any given episode, any given time of Dragon Ball Super, and we talk not necessarily about who's going to win that fight, like power scaling, can they fight each other? Basically, if you like those type of conversations, make sure to go over to MJ's channel because he definitely does those once a week. They're really awesome. They kind of break down all the types of things that they can do, techniques and all this stuff, and who would win those particular fights. But here we're talking more about story. And if you have seen this stuff, I actually made a video about why Frieza coming into the Tournament of Power is going to be a really good thing, potentially for Frost, and actually making kind of a redemption to his character and making him a good guy. So today we're going to be talking about Frost versus Frieza, but we're adding Cabba in there as well. So MJ, before we talk about this, what do you think? I mean, what do you think about that? Do you think that this is something that should happen? And any other thoughts that you have on that?
Yeah, I think it definitely should happen. And then when you just break down the fact that Frieza's coming back, I think one thing that kind of helps Toei, because I think this is blatant fan service, but one thing that does help Toei is the fact that out of all the fighters in the afterlife, and out of all the other fighters like probably in that universe, in Universe 7, Frieza automatically has a connection with everybody. He has a connection with Goku, a deep connection with Vegeta. He has a connection with Beerus. He has an indirect connection with the Universe 6 science, and then of course Frost, you know what I mean? So I think that's kind of what backs up Toei's, I think that they can get away with this because I can see why they would pick Frieza, not only just because of fan service, but he does seem to be the most, I guess, connected villain with all of these characters that we're going to be seeing in the Tournament of Power. So with that being said, I'm all for it, and I think it should happen, and I think that's probably what will happen. We will see Frost encounter Frieza, and having Cabba in there, I think that just really makes things a lot more interesting because we're going to have Goku and them taking on the Pride Troopers. We're going to have Hit probably taking someone else on. So Frost and the Universe 6 Science, and specifically Cabba going up against Frieza, I'm all for that. And yeah.
I think one of the things that they need to do, just kind of talking about it in terms of just, I guess, choreography or whatever you want to call it when it comes to anime fighting and everything, one of the things I really definitely want to see is multiple people fighting one person or multiple people fighting each other. I think that's one of the things we need to see in this tournament. And especially taking someone on the Universe 7 team and actually making them the villain. Because look, the brilliance about Frieza is he is a villain, and they've been setting up the Universe 7 team to be this kind of anti-hero villain type of situation for all the other universes because of what Goku's done and everything else. And look, this is a golden opportunity, pun intended, I guess, to basically have Universe 7 be like the legitimate villain, and also taking someone who's also a legitimate villain, aka Frost, and making him a good guy. And I think there's a lot of character development that could be had here. So man, if you have any idea, if you have any way to make this better, or have a completely alternate idea of how this should kind of play out, you're more than welcome to say it after this. I welcome it. Everyone else who's listening, you can pause the video right now and tell me exactly what you think should happen in this fight, how it should come down, and how it should basically, every single thing that could happen in this fight that you want to see in terms of character and how it plays out. So let me get into this. So this is how I want it to go. I want it to happen really fairly early on in the Tournament of Power. So basically, we have this moment and a lot of things, and this comes from Danny too, because Danny is the one who said he really wanted this. But basically, you have the beginning of the Tournament of Power, and it's going, and you have kind of an homage or some kind of hint from the last tournament that we saw, where Goku got basically really overconfident with Frost, and he was eliminated really quickly. And we start to see something like that happen again, where Goku's just about to get eliminated immediately. And instead of that actually happening, because obviously at this point Frieza knows the particulars of this tournament. He doesn't want to die just as much as anything else. He ends up actually saving Goku, right? He actually ends up saving Goku from getting eliminated, and obviously Goku being Goku is, thankful for the most part, and, they have this moment, but it basically makes Frieza a bit sick. He's like, oh man, this is totally whack. Like, I can't believe I'm helping this freaking monkey and everything, and it makes me so mad. It makes me just so mad that
I'm killing you before I go back to hell, man.
it just makes me so mad. I'm in this tournament and I have to work with my mortal enemy, and I also have to work with the Saiyans. There's no other Saiyans that I can beat up. Lo and behold, Cabba's on the other end of the the little top thing, and he's just having a hard time. So he goes Super Saiyan. Of course, Frieza hates that thing, but he knows instantaneously what Super Saiyans are. So he's like, the fuck? He's like, the fuck? There are Saiyans in other universes? Okay, fuck this. I'm gonna go wail on that guy. So he goes over, and Cabba's kind of holding his own against all these other people, but he just starts wailing. And we get this awesome scene between Frost and Frieza and Cabba, where Frieza is literally torturing another Saiyan. I mean, this is basically Vegeta versus Final Form Frieza stuff. And I don't even think he's in his gold form yet. I think he's just in his final form. And it's in that same vein where he's just torturing the guy. And obviously Frost is way over, or Cabba's way over his head, and he necessarily can't do anything else. Now, no one else is basically around them, but Frost notices this, and then we have this situation between Cabba and Frost, and he has basically flashbacks of them fighting on the front lines together, because that's what Cabba was talking about in the last tournament. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe Frost is evil. He's been on my side before. We fought on the front lines in wars, and we realize that Frost is just kind of a dick when it comes to money. He likes Empire stuff. He has no prejudice towards the Saiyans or anyone else. He's just kind of a money guy, he's just kind of a businessman, really, and he does everything.
A dirty
he does.
Businessman, right?
Yeah, he's not evil. He doesn't hate. He's not Hitler like Frieza is. And so he sees this, and it's not only this idea that my teammate's getting beaten up. It's this guy that I've actually fought with is being massacred right now, and I need to help. So Frost steps in. And Frieza so Frost steps in, stops Frieza, and we get this awesome scene between Frost and Frieza fighting, and then Cabba also helping. And obviously Frieza's not going, either Frieza's going gold or something like that, but they're fighting. And I know a lot of people would probably hate this given the build-up for Frieza, but considering that Frieza isn't necessarily a character who can, I guess, win or is going to be that readily available throughout the tournament, I don't necessarily see him making a huge impact other than maybe having a point where he saves Goku and maybe basically dogging on other Saiyans from other universes, like Universe 6. I really think the way that fight should end is you see this potential, basically this redemption for Frost, and Frost basically eliminates himself with Frieza. They're both gone just to save Cabba, and then you're like, wow, that was kind of impactful. And then Frost can basically go doing everything else that he wants to do.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Plus, it would be nice to see Frost, who had a heel turn back in the last tournament. Here, he can kind of have a tweener turn. He can have an in-between a face and a heel turn. He may be an evil, dirty... Well, not evil. He may be a dirty businessman, but he's not necessarily someone who's evil. Because when I look back at the last fight between Goku and Frost, people like to say, oh, they're the exact same person. Not necessarily, because when Frost poisoned Goku, he could have easily been like, I hate you, Saiyan. He could have tortured Goku while Goku was out of it, but instead he knocked him immediately out. The same with Piccolo, he was like, I don't want to hurt you, man. I'll just take you out real quick. I don't have the power to accidentally kill you, So it's he's not really this evil person who wants to torture people like Frieza. Frieza seems to bust nuts every time he's torturing people, he gets his rocks off on that. But anyways, my point being, I would like to add this though. I think they should do this. No, again, I know they're supposed to be counterparts, and Frost may very well have similar techniques to Frieza. We just did not see him in the tournament. So what I'm going to say here is I think they really should show the distinctive differences in their fighting styles. Frieza using more I guess telekinesis techniques where he put Goku in that ball and he picked up rocks and shit. We talked about this off air, right? where he uses more telekinesis and ki blast techniques, whereas Frost is a hand-to-hand combat guy. He's been in the front lines, you know what I mean? He's been on the war, so you have him do his hand-to-hand stuff. I think that would be real cool to kind of show the differences and kind of tell us, you know, these guys just really aren't that similar. They may be counterparts, but they've had different upbringings, they've lived different lives, they have different techniques. Because remember, Frieza's always been like a ki blast guy. He's always had these weird, you know, like balls of energy that he would create, and then of course the telekinesis. Whereas Frost, when he fought Goku, he was spearing Goku, tackling him, you know, doing stuff like that. He did like a freaking flip on him. Like, he's a frontline hand-to-hand guy, you know, so it would be real cool to see the differences in their fighting styles, and I think that would be a nice touch that Toei could add as far as choreography goes.
Yeah, and oh man, I agree with that. And it'd be awesome to see how Frost could basically get the upper hand with Frieza, even though Frieza is basically stronger than him, or should be like astronomically stronger than him. It would be interesting to see him get the upper hand with the body technique, like the body blows, because that's what Goku did against Frieza. He was able to basically wear him down, you know, as Geekdom has talked about a lot. You know, Danny's talked about that a lot, basically breaking down exactly how Goku won that fight, for anyone who's interested. I'll try to leave a link if I can find it. It's a really old video, but it was a really good one breaking all that stuff down. But yeah, seeing that kind of difference between their fighting styles would be really interesting, and having Frost basically wail on Frieza, basically beating him because of strategy, and Frieza's reliance on his ki and everything is something that basically harms him in this fight. Not to mention how we get to see Frost or Cabba basically wail on him too, or figuring out like a way that they can work together would be something really interesting to see, considering
like battle combinations. It would be cool to see if they have something like that, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I think that would be really interesting to see. But like, okay, in terms of like that though, what do you think about the ending of the fight though? Do you think getting rid of Frieza that easily would be kind of a dick move for them after all the buildup, or do you think everything would basically pay off if they played it out like that?
Well, I mean, just because we're saying it's happening in the beginning of the tournament, it doesn't mean it's all going to happen in one episode. They could easily pace it out, you know, where he's fucking up Cabba, excuse my language, for like, I guess, like half an episode. That's where you have Frost come in, and you ended on a cliffhanger, you know, Frost and Cabba versus Frieza, you know, and then that's, you know, that's my point, is if they build it up right and they pace it correctly, then, and of course, guys, I'm just saying, pacing doesn't have to do with the length of an episode. I'm just saying, if they pace it correctly, I'm fine with it, you know what I mean? It's in a way, because he would already have accomplished a lot of things there. Frieza would have accomplished in showing that he's willing to fight for his existence, because yes, guys, we know he's dead, but if Zeno blows up Universe 7, he'll be wiped from existence. He will no longer exist. There will ever be no way for him to ever return. So he'll be fighting for his existence, so that's why he saved Goku. That's one accomplishment. He went on to go have a torture scene, which is what Frieza's known for doing. Like we saw in the ROF, we saw it in Namek against Gohan there again, and Vegeta, and Goku, basically. So he does the torture scene against Cabba. That's the second thing that he's done. And the third thing would be the final fight, where then he gets eliminated. So I think that accomplishes three things, you know. I think that's what people would expect from Frieza, you know. And plus, again, if they pace the fight correctly, I'm totally fine with it.
No, I totally agree. Do you think that we should, like, okay, but in terms of also, do you think that that's getting rid of Frieza, also getting rid of Frost, is that a good idea too? Like, I mean, doing a double elimination, these two people who are basically, like everyone is saying, they're, you know, they're really similar to each other. Do you think the tournament can survive, like, giving us this epic fight and then getting rid of these two characters who are basically the same? Or do you think there's other story potential, not just with Frost, but with Frieza as well? I mean, a lot of people want, you know, Frieza to fight Kale or Khalifa and all this other stuff. My whole point here is I think that you kind of get the same thing. I mean, as much as we want to see him fight the female Saiyans, is Cabba is the one who we've been following and we know a whole lot about, and seeing him go up against Frieza I think would be way more impactful than just seeing, you know, the girl who looks like the legendary Super Saiyan go up against Frieza, which is something that a lot of people probably wanted to see. In
it's the fan fiction of like Broly beating up Frieza. So you'll get it here with Khalifa beating up Frieza, or my bad, you'll get it with Kale beating up Frieza. Again, I get the whole fanfic theory. I get why people may want to see that. But as far as story goes, I think it works better with Cabba and Frost actually taking on Frieza. Plus, Cabba doesn't really seem to know Kale and Khalifa that well. I'm sure they'll come up with something, like maybe like a battle tactic. He is going to try and get them to learn Super Saiyan. So maybe that's something they could, I guess, expand on if they really wanted to go there. But I think Frost and Cabba already have have history. And plus, Cabba seemed to have an admiration for Frost during the last tournament. So if Frost were to go face and actually have a face turn, I know that pops Danny right there. If Frost would actually have a face turn and have a double elimination with Frieza and basically kind of saving Cabba's ass, that admiration may not fully return, but it's going to give Cabba a new light and kind of have him kind of say, okay, you know, Frost did that for me. I gotta take this tournament seriously, and he'll jump back into the fold, and then he can kind of carry on Frost's will. You know what I mean? Kind of like throughout that tournament. Frost may not be in the tournament anymore, but you know, Frost knew that maybe Cabba would be more of an asset, or he just did it for Cabba. You know, I think that would be kind of cool, and I think that doesn't really hurt the story that much. I mean, because you're getting rid of both the Frieza characters. People are kind of like, we're tired of Frieza, get him out of here, you know? So that takes away those two guys after a pretty epic battle, you know? I think that would be a nice touch to kind of end it, you know? And then plus, it's kind of like, again, people don't really want to see Frieza, so you get him out of there after one epic fight, you know?
One epic fight that means something, I think. That means something that feels like it was building towards something, when you can basically take it and be like, yeah, you remember the ROF arc, and you remember that big, like, heel turn we gave for Frost at the beginning of the last tournament and everything like that. Like, this kind of melds itself into that, and it makes all of that seem more story oriented and way more like focused. We were actually thinking about this is something we were kind of planning, because without all that stuff, this moment wouldn't necessarily matter.
And I guess something else to add on, sorry to cut you off, but if Cabba ends up being like one of the last 10 or 12, like, imagine this, like, Hit's actually gone, bro. Like, Hit has a huge epic fight with Jiren or whoever, and he actually ends up getting gone. Imagine Cabba, bro, the freaking underdog of Universe 6, being one of the last in there, and then you have, like, one of those flashbacks of, like, Frost kind of, like, giving up his spot and saving Cabba, and that's just going to give Cabba, like, that extra oomph to kind of want to win this thing, you know? I think that would be kind of cool. You can go a whole route with this story-wise, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And for anyone who's interested in hearing more about like what MJ was saying about that, Dimsy and I did a video that should be on my channel right by now. Why exactly we think that Cabba could actually win this whole thing in terms of story, and why it would make sense and everything going into that. So make sure to check out that if you're interested, you guys. But with that, I think we're going to end it. Tell us what you think about this, you know, this little series. I think we can do way more of these into the futures, not just with the Tournament of Power, but just going forward. As long as we know who's going to fight, and for whatever reason, or we can think of any other real story reason for the general series of Dragon Ball Super, we could do these. We could do like these discussions and everything. So tell us what you think about them, and we're going to catch you on the next video. Please make sure to go check out MJ, because he will give you ear orgasms. No, totally, guys. He makes some really awesome content, daily content for anyone who's really interested. Anime, mostly Dragon Ball, but also
stop sucking me off,
stuff.
Mark.
I'm just saying. I can tell them to go check you out, because he makes some good stuff. Anyway, guys, we're gonna catch you on the next video.